Space on the computer. Okay. Good afternoon. I'd
Good
like to
afternoon.
welcome everyone to this week's edition of Imperial as One's Belonging series, where we explore the lived experiences of individuals from the Black, Asian, and minority ethnic communities. It's an opportunity for us to share their stories, to hear their experiences, and most of all, find out how they've got their sense of belonging. And this week, I've got a young man who I've been observing from a distance. All right, he truly is an inspiration, and he is Demani Jules-Carbon. And Demani, he's an author, he's a role model, he's an entrepreneur with big ideas, right? And I'm so glad that I'm going to let him tell you where he is right now, because it really feeds into his story, right? But Demani, I want to welcome you and just say a really big thank you for agreeing to be a guest. The first thing I'm going to ask you is tell us something about what it was that gave you your sense of identity, sense of belonging as you were growing up.
Yeah, so I'll start from the beginning. I've been very blessed to have the parents that I've got, and they sort of built that foundation. So a lot of the times we've been told about it takes a village to raise a child. It's that sort of village mentality to speak. And I've definitely been a massive visualizer. I've seen it from a very, very young age that is what has happened. So everything that has happened in my life up to date and will happen continuously, I'll always be grateful for those organizations that I've come across. So it started from young, whereby my parents were very much interested in instilling Black history into me, understanding who I am, understanding my roots and my culture, and loving myself for who I am, basically loving my skin, loving the melanin, loving the Blackness, as I speak, and embracing it. But at the same time, it's not just about you just embracing who you are, it's also about embracing other people's cultures as well. So having that sort of ground, that sort of foundation from the start, I believe I started very, very well, for sure. Then a couple of watershed moments I like to go through. So the first one was in 2010, October 2010, and I went to Ghana, and I went with an association called Black Boys Can, XL3. And we went over to Ghana for 10 days. Now, before I went to Ghana, the preconceived notions, obviously, you know how it is. Africa's this, Africa's that, flies in the face, poor, poverty, etc. So I was a bit tense. I was a bit, I was thinking, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. But my mum made sure that I went. My dad was very adamant that I went as well. And I went. They had actually gone beforehand as well, so they kind of knew about it, and I went. And that opened my eyes, Wayne. That opened my eyes to where I see myself in terms of going and where I really, really want to make a massive impact. And that is in the continent of Africa, which again has shaped my thinking today, which I'll go into a bit later. So yeah, Africa was very important for me. I was around 13 years of age at that time. Very important. Go on, Wayne.
So your parents, how did you get involved with Black Boys Can? What was the initiative? What was that about? And what was your involvement?
Yeah, for sure. So Black Boys Can was, but basically we met about a week, every single week or so. It was in Alperton, Northwest London. I'm from Wembley, and it was an initiative mainly about empowerment. It was about empowerment, being together as Black boys, coming from different environments as well. Some were sort of misbehaving, shall we say. Some were potentially in trouble with the police. And then, yeah, it was just myself. It was just, very, very much in the neutral zone kind of thing, just enjoying and embracing.
So for you, it was about, and for your parents, it was about pro-Blackness. It was about, I love the way that you started it by saying loving the melanin,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
and being proud of who you are.
Yes.
Yeah. And so this was part of a way. Was this part of a way for you to connect with the African heritage? What was it? Would you say?
So it was a it was more about empowerment. Black boys can, we can, you know, no matter what the adversities that we face, we can do it, and we will do it. It doesn't matter what's happened in the past. You've got a future. Focus on the now, focus on the future. This is what we can do. This is how we can move forward. So I said that was very much about empowerment and understanding that, for sure.
So that was in 2010, right? How did that kind of like impact your viewpoint of the world? What was the impact of going to Ghana on you?
I always said, the next time I go to Africa is for something business related. It has to be something in terms of entrepreneurship. How can I make a difference on the continent? And I actually went to Uganda for about a week in September. And that was, again, very much business focused. That was a Future Boss. But again, we're going to get to that a bit later. Because obviously after Future Boss, next was a very important, very important organization called Q Tuition. So Q Tuition, tuitioning services based in Northwest London. And they'd actually put me forward for a positive role model award as well in 2015, which was, again, just astounding kind of thing. So I was doing some work with voluntary work at St. George's Church sort of parish. I was working on sort of like the youth club. So I was sort of just volunteering my time. And obviously they just saw how I was as a person. They saw where I'm looking to go as a speaker. Again, this was sort of at the age of sort of 14, 15, 13, again, around sort of same age. So I've had that support system, Wayne. I'll be honest with you, I had that support system, and a lot of it started from the parents, and then my parents had sort of seen Q Tuition, they've seen what they've done. So Q Tuition is very important as well, is because they're the reason why I got connected to Reach Society. So Reach Society were looking for a scholar for the first scholarship they're going to roll out. The deadline had passed, Wayne, and they didn't find who they were looking for. But obviously they found me, didn't they? So if it wasn't for Q Tuition for putting me forward and them actually having the insights of Reach Society, I wouldn't have been put forward. So that was very much another milestone. Just before that was I went to Reach Society to establish their actual careers conference, the first one I went to establish what it was I need to do as a speaker in terms of just understanding a couple of things. And that day, I never forget, when we had applied for that careers conference, again, I've got a very big niche with sometimes going over the deadline. I don't know why it is, Wayne, but my time management isn't great. So I remember Glaister, who's still at Reach Society. He was sort of involved with sort of admissions kind of thing. And we'd emailed in to say that we wanted to go to the careers conference, and I was late for it. So he said, oh, unfortunately, you can't come. My mum said, no, Demani, you're a great speaker. Just act. Go there and just make it happen. Get yourself in there. So I did that. I remember I went to the desk. I allowed the woman to go through the sheet of paper, knowing I wasn't on the sheet of paper to be in there. And I said, oh my God, am I not in? She said, no, you're not. But she put my name at the back. So it wasn't that hard, but still, I just had to act a little bit. I had to play up a little bit. And that was the day where, that's it. You have to.
Washington.
That's it. You got to do sometimes. And that was the day that I came across the university that I went to, UCFB, University College Football is the Business. I studied international football business there, and yeah, that was me seeing that. And I remember Dr. Neil had said on stage, put your hand up if you wanted to potentially get involved with a scholarship. And this was before, by the way, I was seen as the scholarship, actually going for it. And I remember after that, I just left. I just kissed my teeth and I left, if I'm being honest with you. And that was it. Because I saw UCFB, I was very excited. That was kind of what I wanted to get into in terms of sports-wise, in the business element. So yeah, that's another sort of watershed moment for sure. And then obviously getting the scholarship, being the first recipient, was obviously another ridiculous moment as well for me in terms of watershed moments.
So I'm just looking here. So throughout up until you're only just turning 18 at the moment in kind of like and in that time you had already been engaged with a number of societies, Reach Society, Q Tuition, Black Boys Can, all of these who are helping to mentor and provide you with avenues in life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you already had at 18 an established support network.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's aside from your family and the links which they give.
Exactly.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. So just bring us through very quickly about that application process for the scholarship.
Yeah.
So what was, how did that go, and what did you do?
I basically did I like to call it a performance profile. So I had applied for sports law and business. That was the course I was really headstrong on.
Mm-hmm.
I had work experience at 13 at a law firm in Wembley Central. It was a solicitor's law firm. I went to court. This was about, I think it was 2 weeks. When I was 14, it was a law firm that Sean Wallace was at, actually. I think it was called Erskine Chambers. I think it was in Farringdon. Again, it was a criminal law work placement, and I think I was there for about a week or 2 weeks. Again, went to court. And also went to a law firm in Holborn. I cannot remember it, but it was a commercial law firm at 15. So I had the work experience there. I was also coaching football as well. I started when I was about 14, 15. Been coaching for about 10 years, stopped it last year, kind of fell out of love with the game, but we're getting back into it. But again, I'll speak about that a bit later. So yeah, so I've been doing certain things within extracurricular, because I've always known, Wayne, that I've got the gift of the gab, but in terms of educational wise, I've never been of a star student, if that makes sense. So I have to make up for it in another way, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? So I'm able to communicate very, very well. I showed a lot of maturity and a lot of sort of, willingness and work rate and determination and perseverance from a young age. So I basically, that application, I sort of sent them a sort of paragraph in terms of what I've been doing and what I've been involved in, kind of thing, up to date. And they were interested. And I remember, I never forget, the meeting took place at Dr. Palmer's University, so the Royal Veterinary College. That's where it was. And I never forget it. I will not forget it. And I remember Dr. Neil was there, Dr. Donald Palmer was there, and Tony Tiu was there. And as I'm in the boardroom now, I'm even reminiscing it now, how it kind of was, how it's set up. I remember where I sat. I remember Dr. Neil was to my right, Dr. Palmer was in front of me, and Tony was sort of on the left-hand side of my left-hand side. I'll never forget that. I never forget how it was. So we had that communication. We had a lot of it. And in that time, the reason why I wanted to go to sports, so I wanted to get into football agency. So that was the sort of angle I went into. And yeah, they asked me a few questions while I was there. They asked me about my family. They asked me about what I'm looking to do. They asked me what I've done already. And I remember Dr. Neil said to me that, I'm going to just deliberate, Demani, for about a couple of minutes, but I think you already know the answer. So I left the room. I was excited. I was like, okay, cool. I'm assuming that was it. Now, do you know what, Wade? What something that I forgot to say as well. My mum said to me, Demani, why are you not doing any research, or why are you not practicing or anything like that? It's a scholarship. Why are you not I said, Mum, no. I've got this. I already knew. I honestly didn't do any preparation at all, because it's coming from the heart, Wayne. Do you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, it's not something I need to prepare for. It's not a speech I need to prepare. It's not something I need to remember. This is myself. This is what I want to do. So at the end of the day, it's either they're going to like me for me or they're not.
Yeah.
So I was that confident I was going to get it anyway, and I got it.
So you went into the room with your authentic self.
100%.
Yeah. So nobody knows Demani better than Demani.
Thank you.
Right. So if they're looking to invest in somebody, you're going to show them who it is that they're investing in.
Thank you. Exactly that.
Brilliant. I was just trying to do a chronology of the activities, right? Because there's someone who I admire greatly, and he said, you probably know him, Professor Jason Arday.
Yeah.
And one of the comments which I always hear him say is hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, right?
Mm.
And I was listening to you, and as you were describing, at age 12, you were going off to Ghana with Black Boys Can. Age 13, 14, and 15, you were visiting law firms. You were engaging in going to solicitors, going to court, exploring those passions. You were coaching young people at football, etc. And yet you said, I wasn't academic. Yeah, necessarily. I wasn't academic. I wasn't getting the top grades, but I knew I could work hard. So for me, you're kind of like the epitome of someone who works hard, knows where your strengths are, and kind of like applies that. All right. Tell us about then this passion, the passion for football. Where are you now? Where are you sat now?
I'm Wembley Stadium, so I'm in a boardroom in Wembley Stadium. So there it is. I work at Wembley Stadium myself, so it makes sense for sure.
It does. It does. World Cup week or World Cup month.
That's it. That's it.
You know, excellent. So tell me, you also mentioned earlier on about the fact that you had gone to Uganda on a business opportunity, but let's try and fill in some of the gaps if you can, in terms of from getting the scholarship, right, being your authentic self, winning the scholarship. So what opportunities has that scholarship opened up? What other doors has it opened up for you, would you say?
It's opened my doors, Wayne, and I'll explain what I mean by that. I had, after getting a scholarship, my preconceived notions of getting a scholarship was I needed to have 20 languages, I need to learn 15 instruments, I need to travel all around the world. My dad had to be a banker, my mum had to be whatever. Like I had the preconceived notions. That's what I thought someone with a scholarship would have to adhere to, as to speak. But then to then be in that same bracket, as to speak, but then do it my way. The confidence levels went from 0 to 100. And I'll explain what I mean by that. I saw myself, I said, okay, if I can get a scholarship, Demani, what else can I get? And the world is literally your oyster. So anything else that you actually put your mind to, it is more than possible you can get it, for sure. So from the transition from university to, from secondary school to university was a very interesting one. I didn't get great grades at all, and I actually failed one of my courses. I had to actually go in to do an extra exam. So imagine getting a scholarship, then seeing what I saw on the results day, having to potentially redo it. I couldn't get into sports law because that's what I wanted to do initially. I had my offers declined, and the scholarship was actually on the line from there. So I remember I spoke to Dr. Palmer about it on a results day, and he said potentially you'd have to reapply next year. So that was difficult for sure. But again, Q Tuition, got in contact with Q Tuition, and what we did was we put together a performance plan. And it went through in terms of what I was doing within the sports industry, what I've done thus far, as I speak. And a couple of days later, got a call from the international football business, which is the course that I did in university, international football business. The course leader, and he just said, look, not everyone gets the grades, but as you just said, for example, it's the hard work that we're looking for. It's those that are willing to do the work, and those that are willing to have something within the long term. And that's why I wanted to bring you back on. So again, I had the shifts again. So the scholarship could have been out of the window, but again, it presented itself. So after that now, I said to myself, how can I make sure that I'm in a position whereby I don't rely on letters to predetermine my future? And I had to now go into a new mentality going into university, whereby I had to be more hungry, I had to be more focused, and I had to work harder, because this is not going to be a very easy route. The route of being an entrepreneur is not an easy route. So I'm not here to I can't sugarcoat it. So I have to get myself mentally within that mind. So we're talking about mentally, we're talking about environment wise, in terms of friends wise, the people that I hang around with, who are the type of people I hang around with, kind of thing. And then in terms of, I then embarked as well a lot on words of affirmation. So again, what I say to my subconscious is very, very important. So I find my down days, Wayne, is when I'm very negative in terms of thoughts wise. But my up days are when I am very positive in what I say. So the first thing that I say when I come out of bed, for example, is thank you. I always say thank you. Always just say thank you. Gratitude straight away. The last thing I say before I go to bed again is gratitude. I've got my journal here that I write in ever since from November. I've started writing in the journal, and I've seen certain patterns in terms of why I'm grateful for things, what's happened, what's not happened, etc. So that massive words, which I didn't know about from university, but I've known from the last year, which I've been practicing for the last how many years, is responsibility. I have to take responsibility now. So I understand that, you know what, it didn't work out greatly in terms of school-wise. I didn't get my sports law. I didn't get to go on to that course, but I have to take responsibility for everything that I have to do. So that's what Reach Society has done for me in terms of taking responsibility, in terms of visualizing what I've seen from a young age, but I say on steroids, in terms of the amount of Black men that I've seen just in so many different avenues and different events. In fact, that's the reason why you and I connected, Wayne.
That's right.
So again, you know, me being on belonging, everything happens. And I think Reach Society has kind of been a catalyst for that, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Guys, I'm not saying that this is an advert for the Reach Society today, but
it is.
You know, it's very true that it's through the Reach Society that connections are made in their network conversations, which they have last Friday of every month. It's a place where people can come and openly discuss their ideas, which is a brilliant thing. And as you can see, it's making opportunities. Donald's there, we'll have a chat with him in a minute, right? It's making opportunities for young people, young men, young women who can, we could probably do a whole show on the Reach Society.
We could. We
right?
will one day, yeah.
But that's for another time. So for you, clearly, those opportunities, which were originally probably you were pushed into by your parents, but you embraced them, you didn't push back because you could see that there was wisdom in these words. And I love what you said about these words of affirmation, to say thank you, to give gratitude, to take responsibility. Those are fantastic traits and a fantastic way to mentally prepare yourself for what's ahead. So give us an idea of what it is that you want to do in relation to going forward, thinking about the opportunities that you've already had. What opportunities are you now seeking, and how are you going about doing them?
In 10 to 15 years, I'm going to be the first Black football club owner in the Premier League. So that is the that's the notion. I would love, Wayne, for someone else to do it before me. I would actually love it. It would be beautiful. But as of now, in terms of if it goes on the way it is today, I'm just going to put that out there. That's the end goal. That's number one. That's the end goal. Just
say it again. Say it again, because I'm recording this, and it's going to be the caption. Say it, my brother.
In 10 to 15 years, Demani Jules-Carbon will be the first Black football club owner in the Premier League.
Go on.
I say this daily. I say this to myself daily. It's something that, you know, when I'm meditating, when I'm doing what I need to do, say what I need to say in the morning, evening, I just say it on a daily basis. It's a non-negotiable for me. It's something that I know will happen, and I can see it happening for sure. In terms of getting there, so I work backwards. I like to work backwards. So I know where I'm going to get to, and I like to work backwards. This year has been a very, very important year. I had got into a group called Future Boss, and Future Boss basically a cohort of 18 to 35-year-olds, Black entrepreneurs, current entrepreneurs, potential entrepreneurs, and also those who have been quite established as well within their fields. And it was basically, it was kind of like a boot camp, I like to say, because we had an incubator where we were made to feel quite uncomfortable, which was actually beautiful. Because obviously you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. What I mean by that is, for example, we had one of the exercises where we had a sheet of paper, and it had various different sort of blocks on it, kind of thing, and it had different sort of notions in it. So, for example, one of them was, I've suffered domestic abuse, for example. So what we did was we went around the room, not knowing each other, of course, and we would have to get 2 answers from each person. So another one was like, I've been homeless, for example. So very, very intimate stuff that was put on that sheet of paper. And that was just one of the exercises. And from then we had sort of gone to Uganda, which was in September. So the Future Boss started in April this year, the first cohort. I was part of it. And for me to get onto it, I had to basically do a 1-minute video of what I was looking to get into and what I have done. So I had a bit of a situation last September. I went into Dubai. I went to try to do a gold dory deal. So those that know, it's basically raw gold from the underground. You smelt it, you get it to a refinery, you smelt it into sort of gold bars and potentially sell it for profit. That's just me being very simple. I'm not going to go into the details. So my friend and I had started this venture sort of early last year. Spoke to a number of suppliers, got a supplier in Mali, from LinkedIn as well. And long story short, got scammed in September. No problem, it is what it is. The money wasn't the problem, it was just the build up for me, and then potentially just losing it like that kind of thing, if that makes sense, because I had goals to potentially stay in Dubai and do what I need to do there, but it wasn't meant to be. That's fine. So I was very, very low when I came back this was 2021, so sort of late September, very, very low when I came back. Then my mum, I'm always gonna say my mum because it's very true. She sent me an email from 1,000 Black Boys. And the owner of 1,000 Black Boys is basically an initiative about sort of Black boys kind of visualizing and seeing greatness with other Black men, as to speak. Adamola, his name is. And we was on the mailing list, and mum had forwarded me the email about this Future Boss. Mm-hmm. So this was about 2 to 3 days before the deadline. Again, I told you, deadlines and me, we don't get on well, but we always make it happen. So I had emailed in the video, etc., and I explained about the process of what happened within the gold kind of thing. So that's what I went there for in terms of trying to get into the gold market. And fast forward to a year later, in September, the same month that I went to Dubai last year, by the way, is the same month I'm in Uganda, basically. Mm-hmm. So, and that's no coincidence, because it actually kept getting delayed, because we were supposed to go earlier, it kept getting delayed. So that's no coincidence. But anyway, I was there, and we went there with three sort of capitals, we call it. So first is social capital in terms of your network. Second is technical capital in terms of the ways to get to where you need to get to. And then the third is obviously, once you secure the 2 capitals, then you get the financial capital, which is obviously the funding or the money that will come with whatever it is you're looking to do. So having that hat on, we went to Uganda, and Future Boss is very, very well connected there. A gentleman called Newton Carrera, he was going to be a presidential candidate in the next sort of 10 to 15 years as well. He basically had set up various meetings. So met with government officials, met with people that are very, very well-to-do entrepreneurs, lawyers, people in charity. We met with a various amount of people, and it just gave me an insight of where my home is. Because when I came out the plane to Ghana, my parents came the plane to Uganda, I said I was home. I already knew it. So in terms of me getting to football ownership, so to speak, the 3 sectors I want to get into is gold, oil and gas, and also renewable energy. So those will be the 3 sectors whereby I'm going to really apply my trades and understand how that works within the next sort of 10 to 15 years to gain that sort of financial capital of where I need to get to. So that's financial capital and everything that needs to go to potentially amass that fortune to get there. Very recently, I have been very much out of love with football, and I just thought to myself, you know what, I don't really understand what's going on. So I went, it was a weekend, literally 2 weekends ago. No, a couple of weekends ago. I had gone amongst sort of a couple of days, and I was speaking to a number of people within football. And I was just saying, how's everything going, just catching up, etc. And something just clicked for me. And I said to myself the other day, do you know what? I'm looking to get back into football. Let's see what I can do. So a couple of days later, this is literally 2 weeks ago, there was someone that I met in May at a watch event, which I'm going to go into the sort of luxury stuff that I get involved in. And he said to me, you know what, Demani, I'm actually setting up my agency. Set up an agency. I said, okay, cool. Like, let me know if you want me to help. Just let me know, and I'm happy to help for sure. You know, I've worked within a football agency, AG Football Academy as well. Throughout university, I was a coordinator, and I've seen what it takes from coaching grassroots to seeing players get into the top level. I've seen it. So I know that gap, as to speak. And a couple of weeks later, I've just reconnected with him. Just wanted to see how everything was doing, catched up with him. And that was to do with the jewelry stuff, the sort of luxury stuff, which I'll talk about a bit later. Mm-hmm. And he said, you know what, Demani, like, I've got a couple of players. I did my first deal in August. And, you know what I mean? Like, I'd love for you to get on board, kind of thing. And that was kind of how the conversation went. So, now, about a week in now, he's got a couple of clubs that he's working with. Mm-hmm. And now I'm sort of on Transfer Market, which is basically a very professional football CV, basically. Mm-hmm. And I'm just sending over players. I'm looking at players. I'm looking at the highlights. I'm sending over players. Say, you know what? I think this player will be good for that club. That player will be good for that club, kind of thing. So we're now kind of looking to bring players for the January transfer market, that is, into like League Two, League One, Eredivisie in Germany, in Netherlands. There's another club in sort of Bundesliga, League Two. So now all of a sudden I'm very much head over heels involved within the sort of the sports kind of advisory kind of thing. So I want to understand different types of levels in terms of football. So I know the coaching side. Mm-hmm. I've had an idea about the scouting side. The next side I'm going to have a look at, which I'm sure will come to me, is the directorship side. So I went to an event, an organization called Black Footballers Partnerships, who's done a fantastic job. And they've actually was featured on Sky Sports as well. And they had their launch party, not launch party, a launch event in the House of Commons. And I'm connected with one of the founders, Delroy. Mm-hmm. And Les Ferdinand's also on that board as well in terms of that. And obviously Les, I believe, is the first Black football director within the Football League, as to speak. Mm-hmm. So that will be my next trial kind of thing, to understand how the sort of decision making is made at the football level. So I have got it mapped out. I do know what I need to do, and it will take time. And I'm patient, because I know what I'm looking to do is not something that many people wake up and think, you know what, let me go and do that. So I know it will take time.
Mm-hmm. No, I love that. I love the passion. I love the ambition. I love the direction that you're seeking to go in. I think it's a really, really well and truly overdue. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to kind of like challenge you a little bit in terms of, when you look in the football league, etc., we already know about the fact that there isn't a Black Premiership football manager, okay, and stuff like that. From the perspective of belonging, how do you see yourself belonging within those kinds of realms when it seems to be such a closed shop? What is it that's going to help you to overcome those things? So
I've said this from the beginning, and I'm going to say it again and again, because I think it's very important. And again, it's building that foundation that my parents have built. Mm-hmm. It takes a village to raise a child. So me being connected with Black Footballers Partnerships, for example, is going to help me a ton. It's going to help me a hell of a lot, Wayne, with getting into that circle, because I will not be alone. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I will have people around me that has a lot more experience than myself, and I'll be able to be guided, because I'm not here to say I know it all. I don't know it all. I actually don't know it all. I really don't know it all. I have no idea what it takes to be a director of football. I have absolutely zero idea what it takes to be an owner of a football club. I don't know, Wayne, but I will get to know. Don't worry, I will get to know. And I'm sure there will be people that will be along the way that will be like, do you know what? Yeah, I'll let you know. That's fine. And that's how it's worked out for the whole time, Wayne. I don't know what's going to happen next year, but I know I'll make it happen, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? I don't know, but I know I'll make it happen. That's no problem. I have that confidence with myself. So belonging is about being within the right circles, of course, but also it's about understanding that I know very, very little, and I need to be someone that wants to learn. I need to be someone that wants to absorb. I need to be someone that wants to be vulnerable and be authentic and understand that this is not an easy journey. Do you understand what I mean? So I need to understand everything, but I know I'm gonna get there, and that's no problem. So that's how it is. That's actually how it is, Wayne. You know, it's not just a closed circle, it's a very wide circle as well.
Yeah.
So 43% of players are in Premier League.
Yeah.
33% of players are, 43% of black players are the Premier League. That's out of all sort of races. 33% of the players in the Football League are black as well. So we know players wise it gets there. And obviously when it gets to management, you're looking at ridiculous numbers. So that's just, you know what I mean? I don't think it surpasses 10% when it comes to management. Directorship, we don't even need to talk about directorship. I don't think it goes over 2%. So the point I'm trying to make is that we know that there's problems, and it goes to that word of responsibility to make sure that we take responsibility and we take ownership of those problems to create solutions.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I'm gonna, at this time, I'd normally open it up to see if there were any questions from the audience. So I'm gonna say, if anyone does have any questions, just either raise your hand or and indicate that you'd like to ask, or put a question in the chat. But I'll continue to ask you some other bits and bobs. You have a great vision, right? A great vision. And I believe you've got the support network. And if you haven't got those who necessarily directly know, it seems that you're able to always find people who do know, who can bring you to the next level. And that ability to network, I think, is a true skill, a true passion. What do you conceive, or what do you think is going to be some of the biggest barriers that you're likely to face? And what do you think you're going to need in order to help you overcome those barriers?
So I think the biggest barriers is having someone that is black looking to buy your club. That is crazy, I speak. Like, in itself, on paper, that is absolutely crazy. It's craziness. You know, when the higher you go within football, the less people that you see that look like yourself. So that's the biggest barrier itself. But again, it's also an opportunity. I see it as more of an opportunity now. So once I'm able to break that threshold, which I will, then it allows the ladder now to go for me to then potentially speak out, for me to go and say what I need to say properly within the audience that I need to get to. That makes sense. Because when you own something, Wayne, you can do what you want.
That's right.
Let's not forget that. Yeah. We've seen, and it's not just black managers, we've seen in terms of, for example, Scott Parker, who was the manager of Bournemouth. He spoke about the lack of resources at the club. Next day, he's out. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So I would be the person making that decision. Does that make sense? I'm the one that is overall making that decision. No one's making a decision on me. Does that make sense? The only people I need to potentially answer to is the Premier League or the FA. But again, you can't stop me from owning my club, because I put my money into this. So don't leave me alone. But if I was the manager, or if I was the employee, it's different. I have to mind what I say, and I have to be an ally, and that's what you got to do. And I get it. That's why other players don't speak out about racism or something like that. They don't speak because they're scared that they might lose their jobs. Because remember, they're under contract. Let's not forget that they're under contract. So therefore, there's certain things that you maybe can't say, and also the environment and such. But I will be the one that will be overbearing. I'll be the one that will be overseeing it. So I won't have that problem. Does that make sense? That's the opportunity.
That's the, I understand that, but I'm just trying to kind of like visualize, because as you said, in terms of ownership, etc. And I think about, take for example, the Glazers at Manchester United, yeah, and ever since, I think from even before they bought the club, right, there were certain people who were saying there's no way that those people should be involved with our football club.
Yeah. But they still were involved, Wayne. But they still were involved.
Yes, they still were. You're 100% right. They still were. I from what you're saying, I don't think there's anything that would stop you. I can't see anything stopping you from getting to where you want to get to, because you believe that that's going to happen.
My grandparents came to the UK. I think it was the 50s, I believe it was. No. I think it was, sorry, it was the 60s or 70s, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my grandma, I sat down with my grandma one day, I think it was last year or the year before, and she was telling me about, in terms of where they lived initially, and how difficult it was, for example, to even get running water, for example. Do you know what I mean? Things like that. And how difficult it was for them to settle into the UK from the Caribbean. I'm sure many people on this call, yourself as well, will have lived experience of family members, etc., that's come over. To say that someone's going to stop me from owning a football club, but yet I've heard a story from before that they couldn't even have running water, or they were struggling with things like that. What's stopping me, Wayne? Nothing's stopping me. Nothing can actually stop. I have to find a way, because people before me, the ancestors before me, have had way worse conditions. I'm in Wembley Stadium right now. But I potentially wouldn't be able to get into the stadium 30, 40 years ago, if it was, for example. Do you know what I mean? So I'm here now, but I'm actually here. Yeah. So if I'm allowing things like racism to stop me, we got to kill racism to stop me from getting to where I need to get to, then I'll just give up. I'll give up and just do the 9-to-5 business for the rest of my life, and that's it, Wayne. You know what I mean? Because I can't. Do you know what it is? I can't find a reason. I can't find a reason to stop or give up. I actually can't find a reason, unfortunately. I've tried it and it hasn't worked. So therefore, we have to keep going until we get there. I don't care. Let's go.
Listen. I love the passion. I love energy, because actually, what you're saying is that, you know what, there are mountains to climb, and I'm here to climb them. There's rivers to cross, and I'm going to swim them. If I have to get across that river, I'm going to make it across there.
But I'm not doing it alone, Wayne. I'm not doing it alone. Do you know what I mean? It's not me just by myself saying I'm self-made. That's absolute rubbish. There's people around me. You have to be in the same. You have to be in the same industry. It doesn't matter about that. But the obstacles and the ocean and the waves is very similar in other industries. There's people in other industries that have been the first to do this, the first to do that, the first to do this, the first to do that, and they've done it, Wayne. Why can't I do it? You know what I mean? Why can't I do it? I can do it, and I will do it. And as I said, I would love it if someone before me gets to do it, Wayne. That'll make it easier for me.
You know what? This goes back to 2010. The organization that you were in, Black Boys Can, right? Yeah. Whatever they taught you at that time, they taught you that I can do it. I know that at the time this was just after President Obama. Yes, we can. Yeah. From the way that you're speaking, you sound like President Obama, President Demani, you know, yes, I can. That's the resounding message that I'm getting, that there's nothing's going to stop you from getting to where you want to. And you recognize the importance of having allyship, having others, and learning from other people as to where you'd want to go.
Absolutely.
Demani, I'm just looking at the time. All right, there's so much I want to go into with you. My final question, right? My final question. As I said, I always have two questions. One is about what advice you would give, I think you've given us all some advice. I'm learning from you as I'm sitting here listening about, you know, being bold and being courageous and not letting anything stand in your way. And the other question that I have is about the wow factor. What would be your wow factor that, looking back, as that young boy going off to Ghana in 2010,
Yeah.
would be the wow factor that you would say to that they would look up and say, wow, that's what I can't believe that, or it's amazing. You can choose which one you answer, or you can answer both.
I'm gonna embed it. I'm gonna answer both for you. I'm gonna embed it actually.
Yeah.
So October 2010, I went to Ghana. October 2010, I believe that's when Reach Society was actually formed as well.
Yeah.
So again, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the wow factor for me was, as I said, when I went into the to careers conference, and Dr. Neil was talking about scholarship, and I said absolutely not. I kissed my teeth and I left because I said that's not me at all. And then fast forward a couple of years, that is me. I am sitting here as a scholar. That is the wow moment for me, because that, as I said, that's what really catapulted me to the next level. That's what I said, mentality wise, no, we're getting it done. Whatever it is you want to get done, we're going to get it done. So that's the wow moment for me. In terms of from a 16-year-old as well, I think it's that fearlessness as well, but also it's about being vulnerable. And I'm a bit different with how I'm vulnerable. I journal now, so I've been doing it since November. I wish I've been doing it for many years, because I feel like I would have actually reached another level if I actually did it for many years. And I would have told myself at 16 to journal, write down all your feelings, all your emotions, whatever it is. Not every day is a great day. Do you know what I mean? We're all human beings, but at the same time, it's important to write things down, because I think there's a massive power with writing, massive power when you actually put pen to paper and you're writing on your journal kind of thing. So I would have told myself that at 16 for sure.
I love that. I love that. I love that. I do love that. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
And it's a process of self-reflection.
Absolutely.
And that's where you get to the words of affirmation, of knowing how to say thank you, knowing where you need to take responsibility and how to show gratitude.
100%.
Absolutely. Demani, I could talk with you for hours, man. I could. We're going to have to sit down and have a chat, have a long chat, because there's connections that need to be made. Yeah. And I think you're one to watch. Let's put it that way. You're one to watch, one of the rising stars.
Thank you.
And I think whatever we can do to help support you, then we're going to help to do that. All right.
Thank you.
So thank you once again for being our guest this week on Imperial as One Belonging. All right. I'm going to just share with everyone what's going to be happening for next week. And if you'd like to tune in next week, what we're going to have Demani Jules-Carbon, and she's a research nurse for the Grenfell firefighters study, and so she's going to be coming and telling us about her experiences on that study and her sense of gaining her sense of belonging. Also, if you haven't seen some of the other interviews, then please go to our YouTube channel, which is tinyurl.com/belonging-IAO, and you can hear the other 112 or so, 115 interviews that we've done. And all I'd like to say is every week we have special guests, and each one of those guests have shared or given us an insight into what helps them to gain their sense of belonging. I really like the point which Demani said today about that self-reflection, that gratitude, that attitude of gratitude, of being thankful. And I'm thankful for all of the guests, and I'm thankful for everybody who comes and listens. Just remember, we are one. Imperial as one. Belonging is where we can explore our identity and our experiences. So until next week, have a great weekend. enjoy the football or whatever it is that you're going to do. And I'll see you again next week. So thanks very much.
Thank you, guys.